Hello, Coolman59 here with another Topic of the Week video. This week, we continue our spoopy themes with the terrifying horror that is Legend of Korra. As you see, I also have a nice pumpkin hat that I meant to have last week, but it took a while to come in after I ordered it, so I have it now. So, since last week I decided to tackle a topic that was about Book 1, focusing mostly on anon. I thought I'd take one of my topics that focused a bit on Book 2. Or, should I say, my favorite aspect of Book 2, Beginnings Part 1 and 2. I got an anon topic, and this is what they asked. Legend of Korra episodes Beginnings Parts 1 and 2. The good and the bad. Short and sweet. This video won't be short and sweet. Book 2 is absolutely baffling, mainly because it is so awfully written. Like, Book 1 was badly written, of course, but the plot itself, the characters, they were good. The bad part was that all the potential was squandered on a stupid romance and a complete ignorance of the political themes that were being used. Book 2 is an absolute mess. Absolute mess. And that's not even considering the fact that the Civil War plotline is even worse filler than the pro-bending arc of Book 1, because at least the pro-bending arc had some relevance to Korra's airbending, and it honestly should have been a key part of that, but like I said, they squandered the potential. Now, the Civil War arc was hilarious, just because by the end it was completely pointless. Like, about midway through, they completely drop it and move on to the whole Unalak's trying to destroy the world thing for some reason. Then Korra ends up getting amnesia. Sigh. And then we get to what I thought was going to be the worst part of the season. Now, believe me, when I first heard that we were going to be getting episodes focusing entirely on the origins of the Avatar, I was not happy. I mean, Legend of Korra is already screwed up so much, and then they're going to touch on the mysterious origins of the Avatar? I mean, seriously, guys? Right, chill. I mean, I do like a lot of explanations, I do believe that leaving certain things mysterious into the imagination actually helps. The mystery of the true origins of the Avatar. It's kind of interesting. It's really cool to think about. I mean, we got little tidbits from Roku, but we never got any definitive origins. Beginnings was going to do that, and I was not happy. So I'm sitting there, and I was watching Book 2 online, and I was sitting there like, I'm trudging through each episode, and then I get to this, and I'm watching this, and I'm just like, this is actually good? Now, trust me, it's not perfect, and it has a lot of stuff to be criticized about. But Beginnings Part 1 and 2 are the only episodes in the entirety of Legend of Korra that tell a full, complete story. Wan has a character arc. There is an arc over the Beginnings Part 1 and 2. It establishes its characters. It establishes the story. It establishes its conflicts. It gives Wan a journey, and a journey that continues up until his death, and eventual reincarnation and beginning of the Avatar cycle. And then I'm just sitting there like, what just happened? Like, where the hell was this writing in Book 1 and Book 2? I mean, like, I was shocked. I was in shock over this. Like, I actually really liked those episodes. And then, of course, everything went to crap after that. We were with a studio, gosh dang it, what studio did the animation for Legend of Korra? Yeah, because I know Perot took over for the beginning of Book 2, and then afterwards the original studio came in with Beginnings and for the rest of the season. And you're like, oh, maybe things are going to improve. No, they didn't improve. They're just randomly good episodes. So, let's start with the good. I want to talk about the good because there is a lot of good in this episode. Beginnings introduces us to Avatar Wan. The first Avatar. The very first one. I was prepped not to like this guy. I was seriously prepped not to like him. Like, seriously. I mean, the first Avatar, I mean, it almost sounded like bad fan fiction. Like the rest of the show. But Wan is a likable character. He basically starts off as Aladdin. But then... yeah, sorry. I'm checking notifications since I have Fallout Shelter. Recently got into Fallout. Anyway, that's off topic. Wan... The thing about Wan is he is everything that Korra is not. His arc is everything Korra's was not. He accomplished in 2 episodes... or should I say, the writing team accomplished in 2 episodes what no one has been able to do over 4 seasons with Korra. He has a complete arc. And that is just shocking. He has a complete arc. This is wonderful. We see him growing from a naive young thief to being exiled to gaining experience and knowledge and expertise. He matures. He does make a few mistakes, but then, especially with releasing Avatu, but then, he journeys with Rava. He trains in the elements. He eventually climaxes in harmonic convergence, the merging of Rava and Wan, and then the actual beginning of the Avatar. It was thrilling. It was interesting. It was inconsistent with Avatar The Last Airbender, but it was fun to watch. And even if it wasn't perfect, it was still leagues better than the rest of Book 2. Wan is just... I like Wan. Honestly, I'm actually really mad that after they introduce him, they never do anything with his character. Come on. Then they destroy Korra's connection to the avatars and maybe destroy the actual past avatars themselves. And it's like, okay, then what's the point of even introducing Wan? Korra didn't learn... Okay, this is dipping into the bad. Alright, I'll just go back and forth, I guess. It's like, Wan was not utilized. And it's like, okay, so Korra didn't learn anything. I mean, the better approach to this would have been... The better approach would have been to have it be like when Aang saw Roku's life. When Roku was explaining stuff, especially stuff about Sozin and the origins of the 100-Year War and what he failed to do. Stop it. Because, he couldn't kill Sozin. Because, it was his best friend. But Korra just observes. And, okay, this is funny. This is another good thing. 2 episodes of no Korra. Not even gonna lie. I was so happy to... I hate Korra. Like, Korra is such a badly written character. The good of her character was squandered starting with... I shouldn't say starting with episode 5. It's really episode 8 that really squanders the good part of her characters. Because episode 7 of book 1 actually had Korra grow and be like, Mako, I may like you, but you need to be with Asami because she's really going through a tough time right now. And then afterwards it just completely drops and her character backslides again. I just couldn't stand Korra. And in book 2, she's especially infuriating. I mean, goodness gracious, this girl is so insane. She's like threatening the judge. She's entirely selfish and all that stupid plot with Tenzin. Wanted me to go into the spirit world, even though only avatars and very, 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 very skilled people, Iroh, were able to get in. Book 2 is a mess. I was so glad to have 2 episodes of not dealing with Korra. Mainly because Wan is so much better than Korra. Everyone's better than Korra. Karuk was better than Korra. In fact, the little bits at I think it was the end of the first part of Beginnings when it gets back to Korra and she's like with those random mage people and you're just like, who the hell are they? And then it's just like, and I was just like, oh no, shut up! I don't want to see Korra. Give me back to Wan. Another good with Beginnings is that it actually gives us an interesting explanation for the Avatar line. I mean, okay, like, I like the idea that Wan fused with a powerful spirit. I'll get into why I don't like the whole Rava-Vatu conflict in a little bit, because while the good parts are few, they are very good. I liked Wan's relationship with Rava. I really did. I loved their relationship. I mean, I don't get why people ship it. I just see it as a very, very deep and intimate relationship that's entirely platonic. I mean, they end up fusing and become essentially one person. And that continues. It adds an extra layer of heartwarmingness to the Avatar. That through all this time, Rava has still been with them. That whole time, throughout all of Last Airbender, Aang had Rava. And, it's great. I just wish it wasn't established the way it was. But I'll get to that in a minute. Rava herself, I was expecting not to like as well. But she ended up being fairly interesting. I like the idea of her. Not exactly how she was handled, but I like the idea of, the first Avatar being a human and then meeting a spirit, and the spirit essentially gives them the abilities to use all four elements. and then they fuse, and then this is what allows the ability of the Avatar state to happen. I like that. I mean, if we have to give an explanation and we can't just leave it completely mysterious, I'm totally cool with this happening. I really like this. Now let's see. What other good parts? Okay, I like the art style. I like the art style change. I thought that was actually really neat. And that it gave a much more, I mean, what's the word? Ghibli-esque, I guess? There was a lot of Ghibli inspiration in those episodes. But the art style was slightly different. A little more watercolory on some of the things. A little more, it looks like the Chinese art, like you see, or the Japanese art. It looks a little similar to that in terms of the way its animation was going. And I really like that. To set it up as this is an entirely different era of time. I thought that was really cool. I want to make sure I get all the good stuff out before I get into the bad stuff and what I have to criticize about it. I talked about Wan, I talked about Rava, I talked about the art style, talked about it having a complete arc. I mean, another thing is that basically the lesson is that Wan spent the rest of his life working hard to fix a mistake he made in his youth. He never gave up on trying to he released Vatu, and even after he sealed him, he still worked to fix things. And it's never outright stated, but that is such a great lesson that, owning up to your mistakes is sometimes more than just a single event. It's sometimes more than just fixing a single mistake. Sometimes you have to spend a long time fixing that. And even though it ended up with him dying, he made such an impact. And then the creation of the Avatar, and then everything just kind of continued from there. I think I got the stuff that I really liked about it. Now let me get to the bad. The biggest problem with Beginnings Part 1 and 2 is that they're entirely inconsistent with Avatar The Last Airbender. Avatar The Last Airbender didn't tell us a lot about the age before the Avatar, but it told us a little. It told us something. And this is what makes Beginnings 1 and 2... They're not bad. It makes them not as good as they could have been. Okay, so the lion turtle in the end of Avatar The Last Airbender, in the finale, the lion turtle tells Aang that in the age before the Avatar, we bent the energy within ourselves. Our real introduction to energy bending. Except when we see this period, the age before the Avatar, people get their ability, the abilities on loan from lion turtles. Like, there'd be a fire lion turtle, an air lion turtle, an earth lion turtle, and a water lion turtle, and they give these people ability, and then they take them back from them, when they're done. Like we see with the lion turtle level, that the characters in Juan's village got firebending from. And I was just sitting there like, huh? Oh, because there's not a single mention of energy bending. This. One thing I really hope Book 1 would do would be to touch on energy bending. I thought that's what they were going to do. When Amon, in the Revelation, when Amon first removed Lightning Bolt Zolt's bending, I thought they were going to basically say he had energy bending. And I thought the Legend of Korra was going to develop energy bending. Because yes, I don't mind energy bending, and Aang still had to work for it. And he still had to keep to his morals, and he still almost lost that fight with Ozai. But expanding energy bending and giving more explanation and more context and more understandings of it would have gone so much more in making and retroactively taking what was sort of a Deus Ex Machina, but not. It wasn't a complete Deus Ex Machina, but it did come a little last minute in Book 1 or in Book 3 of Book 3 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. That it would have been great to have Legend of Korra basically say, okay, no, that thing we talked about? Okay, here's more about it. We're going to give you context so it doesn't seem as random and last minute. Because, I really was looking forward to that. Especially giving Amon, the villain, the ability to use energy bending. No, it was just magic blood bending. Because, why not? And then when we get to... I thought, are we going to actually get to see energy bending being used? No! We don't see it's not even mentioned. When the lion turtle says we bent the energies within ourselves before the elements, that was heavily implying that the humans had energy bending. Except there's not energy bending in Beginnings, and I don't understand why. They didn't have a lot to get right. Most everything else about the context of the area is fine. I just don't understand why they didn't use energy bending. I was actually really hoping that we could actually see energy bending being used in place of elemental bending. Because if this is supposed to be the if this is what was replaced by also I wanted to see general use of energy bending, because outside of removing bending, we don't know the real function of energy bending. Can energy bending affect different elements? We know it evolved into the elements. That's another thing. We know that there were the animal benders, were the first benders, as established in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And then we know that humans learn the different elements from the animals. Firebending was learned from the dragons, which I actually do believe Juan did learn stuff from the dragons, so I actually really appreciate that detail. It's another thing I like. The sky bison were the first benders of airbending. The badger moles were the first earthbenders, and then the moon and the ocean spirits were the first waterbenders, and the waterbenders learned from the pull. I think it was to describe the pull and push of the ocean. Now there is a whole thing with Oma and Shu, but I always kind of took that a little bit as mythology rather than hard canon, because the animal ones make more sense to me personally. We don't see any of that. From the context of Avatar: The Last Airbender and what was established, the way I understood it was that people had energy bending. They would bend the energy with themselves doing something. We never really figured out what they did with it. But I mean, it must not have been super amazing outside of certain situations, because the elements surpassed it, or replaced it. I didn't quite surpass it. They replaced it. I mean, it would have made so much more sense if we had everyone, including one, have energy, like have all these people with energy bending, and have, Juan on his journey learn from the different animal benders, and maybe inspire people to use the elements, and then this is what gets people to do it, and they end up forming these groups based on the animals. Like you have the Earth Kingdom, and you have people forming what would become the Earth Kingdom, people forming what would become the Fire Nation, people becoming what would be the origins of the air nomads, and then the water tribes, and then on different sides of the earth. Doing it in that approach would have been so much better. I'm 70% of my problems would have vanished if they took that approach. And the lion turtles, it would have been awesome if we actually got to see the lion turtle from Avatar: The Last Airbender. If we actually got to see him. But we just see regular other lion turtles. And I don't know. It kind of demystifies the lion turtles. And it just they just seem so generic in this. Great stone dragon. That's what I thought of when I see lion turtles. But it's they just kind of pass out these elements on loan. And it's okay, but we had 3 seasons of Avatar: The Last Airbender telling us about the animal benders. Toph learned from the badger moles. This is an important part of the mythology of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's just, and a lot of stuff in Legend of Korra, they just kind of disregarded canon in the previous show. Another thing is how the spirits were handled. The spirit world in Book 2 is just, I don't even know what it is. It's you can actually, there's portals that let you just walk into it physically. And I'm just okay. Iroh, when he was after his son died, and he was looking for his son, spent years studying, spirituality and stuff, to go into the spirit world, and he managed to succeed, which is why he was able to see, Roku and Aang on Roku's dragon while they were flying through the spirit world. And it was always kind of implied, that the spirit world, it's almost like there were 2 versions of the spirit world. There was the slightly different plane of existence that you would, sometimes Aang would be, when Roku on his dragon, they were flying around on that plane. And then there's, the spirit world, and where everything's all weird and swampy and stuff. And this is where Aang went to face Ko, the Face Stealer. I believe this is also where he went in that one little short that had him meeting the previous handful of avatars and learning from them, which is also where we find out that Kyoshi's the one who started the Dai Li. Yay. Yeah, good going, Kyoshi. In Book 2, the spirits in general are just so weird, because now all of us, it basically almost feels like it's trying so hard to copy Ghibli movies. I mean, especially which movie was it? Was it Princess Mononoke? Yeah, it was Princess Mononoke that I felt most copied. I don't know, seen so many Ghibli movies, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it all blends together. And a little bit of Spirited Away, too. Especially crossing that bridge. It felt so derivative, honestly. It didn't feel like Avatar, it felt like Ghibli. And it shouldn't be feeling derivative of something else. The way the spirits were handled, and, you know, going and hunting spirits with the firebending, you know, it's just little spirits living, and I don't know. That part just felt so odd, and it felt like they were trying so hard to shove in spirits versus human conflict in all of Book 2, including Beginnings, which is where they place the origin of it. It just felt so wrong. I like the idea that Juan hung out with spirits. I like the idea that Juan gained this spirituality by hanging with the spirits. I actually think that's a really cool idea. And it really establishes Juan. You know, it really establishes the Avatar. The Avatar is the bridge between the spirit world and the human world. So that would make sense. But the way it was handled was just so odd. It didn't really, like I said, it felt like in so many of the spirit designs, it was basically just like, hey guys, we watched some Ghibli movies before we did Book 2. Then you have the whole dark spirits. I don't know. It all felt so generic and didn't feel at all like Avatar. Okay, speaking of spirits, now we get to Rava and Vatu. I'm of two minds about this. On one hand, I like Rava. I really like Rava. I don't like how it's portrayed as a black and white, and this is what I was talking about earlier. They portray the conflict as good versus evil instead of order versus chaos, instead of yin and yang. It's not. It's like I think someone said it took some ideas from some sort of Eastern mythology, but it didn't. But it kind of westernized them into being good versus evil, and I don't get that. I always saw the Avatar as, you know, they weren't necessarily a force of pure good. They were a force of balance. Balance is good, yes, but you know, it's not that they're the good guy, even though the Avatar typically is. Excuse me. The Avatar needs to bring balance to the world. Make sure that there is balance. So having a single entity, a Vatu, being like, I'm super evil, I'm like literally all the evil in the world, blah, blah, blah. It felt too in your face, black and white. Literally black and white, almost. Blue and dark purple. Yeah, it just, come on. Can we not have a gray, it's like, and this is a problem that extends to the entirety of Legend of Korra. All conflicts are seen as black and white, good versus evil. Amon and everyone else, and are Nikolas versus the main group, good guys versus bad guys. Korra versus Unalaq, good guys versus bad guys, and because Unalaq, I guess, wanted to destroy the world to make everyone more spiritual. Who knows? Honestly, he was the worst written villain in the series. Korra versus the Red Lotus and the Scooby Gang. Good versus evil. Korra versus Kuvira. Good versus evil. And it's literally like they might start off appearing with shades of gray, but they strip it all away. And this this just drops the pretense. Like, Rava is a spirit of good, and then Vatu is a spirit of evil, and it just kind of really annoyed me. Like, okay, why wasn't Rava like a spirit of nature? A spirit of the world or something like that? And she fuses with Juan, and he becomes her avatar of the world, eh? Why do we have to have it be good versus evil? On top of that, Vaatu is just so cliche. Just, I don't know. Like, Rava herself, like, if you took Rava and made her a different kind of spirit, kept her personality the same, I would have been much more okay with it. And this all leads to the number one thing that I don't like about this thing. It may not be, the number one, but this is probably one of the biggest issues with it. Harmonic convergence. Harmonic convergence is introduced in Book 2 as the fight that happens every 10,000 years. Yada, yada, yada. It's God versus evil, fate of the galaxy, of the world, I guess. Harmonic convergence is stupid. Seriously, harmonic convergence? That's the best you can come up with? This is the most Eastern thing you can come up with? If people talk about the westernization of Legend of Korra, this isn't just the world itself, it's everything about it. Harmonic convergence doesn't sound like it fits in with... It doesn't sound like it fits into the Avatar franchise. It sounds like it came from an episode of Doctor Who. Seriously. And then this whole thing of... the beginnings... The only bad parts of the writing, of the individual writing, is that it shoves in harmonic convergence because they couldn't think of any other way to actually explain it. Because there's nothing, it has no relevance to anything else in the series. There's no relevance to anything from Avatar The Last Airbender. Harmonic convergence just exists. It's just some random plot idea that they threw out and decided to go with. Like a lot of Book 2, and Book 3, and Book 4. Now, I don't mind using flashback episodes to explain plot details. What I do mind, though, is when it's forced. And this is so forced. Harmonic convergence was a stupid idea, having it be the good versus evil, deciding the fate for 10,000 years. It's really 9,986, but 10,000 sounds more ominous. Yeah, I think I pretty much touched on everything in 2 episodes. It's still a lot to talk about for 2 episodes of the show. On their own, they are the single bit of complete storytelling. Wan is a great character. I accept Wan as the first Avatar. In a better written episodes, I would have... You know what I really feel? I really think they should have just dropped Legend of Korra, done a movie about Wan, the first Avatar, and make it in line with Avatar The Last Airbender. Because that's one of the biggest flaws of these episodes. They feel good. They look good. They sound good. But they're inconsistent with Avatar The Last Airbender. And to me, that is the most important part. That is the most important part. It needs to be... Avatar The Last Airbender is the basis of the entire franchise. You can't just ignore it. But they did. And they completely screwed it over. Wan could have been, the story of Wan, the legend of Wan, could have been a really excellent addition to the franchise. And I am close to accepting it just because it is, on its own, it is good. But with Avatar The Last Airbender, you're going to start noticing flaws in the writing. And it's and I don't even think it's so much the flaws of the writing, it's just that Bright didn't care. Almost everything about Legend of Korra was written in a vacuum. And the Beginnings is no exception. Because really, this episode has, outside of introducing harmonic convergence, has so little bearing to the plot of Book 2. Korra doesn't interact. Korra doesn't see anything. Korra doesn't understand anything. She just wakes up and she's like, I know about one. And supposedly she connects with Rava because Korra gets to be special. And Beginnings are good. Beginnings Part 1 and 2 are good episodes. I don't want people to think I hate the episodes. I just criticize them because they're inconsistent with Avatar: Last Airbender. And it's like they come this close to being... They come this close to being amazing, awesome episodes. I would actually group Beginnings just under the first 4 episodes of Book 1 of Legend of Korra. I really like those episodes. And, I mean, those are the only sets of episodes that I actually like in Legend of Korra. So yeah, I think I pretty much talked about everything I could. Yeah, it's good standalone episodes. The flaws start showing when you compare it to our information that we know from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Some really confusing use of the spirits and the conflicts that are devolved into good versus evil, like the rest of Legend of Korra. Great introduction for characters like Ron and Juan and Rava, but the spirits are odd. The inconsistencies with Avatar: The Last Airbender, the shoving in of harmonic convergence merely to use as an introduction to another lazy plot point, hold this episode back from being completely amazing. These episodes back. But they're still good episodes. I would rewatch these episodes. I would rewatch them because I like them. So yeah, I think I went over the good and the bad of Beginnings Part 1 and 2. So yeah. If you have a topic you want to submit, if you're on YouTube, just post your topic below. If you're on Tumblr, just send me an ask on my blog. It's clement229.tumblr.com. And just put topic : and then the topic you want to submit. Just remember to follow the rules that I'll post below. So, thank you for watching, and stay tuned next week where we continue for episode 3 in my Halloween series on Legend of Korra. Thank you.